Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Students, as you know, yesterday we have started our topic components of human food. So we have discussed earlier about the carbohydrates. Today our next topic is lipids. So what are lipids? Lipids present in food are composed of fatty acid bounded to glycerol. So we have two components. The first one are fatty acids. It are like about carboxylic acids and glycerol. It is a type of alcohol. These two molecules condense bounded to each other to make a molecule of water in the process of condensation, and these both when these both are combined each other, they make lipids. Now next we see that the lipids are the fatty acid of lipids are maybe saturated or unsaturated. Now the question is that what is the difference between saturated and unsaturated? So first of all, we define that saturated fatty acid have all their carbon atom bounded to hydrogen atom. So here we can see that we have 3 carbon atoms, and as we know the carbon atom have a valency is 4, and it make 4 complete single covalent bond. So we can see that it have 4, this carbon has 4 covalent bond, 3 with hydrogen, and the fourth one is next carbon, and this carbon have also satisfied 4 valency, and this carbon is have also satisfied 4 valency. So these 3 carbon are completely bounded with the hydrogen atoms. So these are completely saturated, and there is no space for any other atom to satisfy their valency. So as these type of carboxylic acids are these type of fatty acids are called saturated. As we see, there is no space for any other hydrogen atom. On the other hand, if we see this picture, we see that there are 3 carbon atoms. This carbon atom is completely bonded with and satisfied with 4 hydrogen atom. This is also, but there is double bond present in this carbon atom, and there is less hydrogen atom bounded to that. So there is a space is in between 2 carbon atom to add up of hydrogen atom. So if we remove this double bond, then there is a space of 2 more hydrogen atom to add in this molecule. So this is a unsaturated fatty acid. So here is also a 3. So students, next we will say about the after examples general characteristics of lipids. Generally, the lipids contain saturated fatty acids are solid at room temperature. So those lipids which contain the saturated fatty acids, they are solid at room temperature. As we know, the butter, when we freeze butter or we saw the butter, it is almost in the solid form. The lipid containing unsaturated fatty acid are liquid at room temperature. Like we have example of any oil, like as we talk about any oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil, this oil is in the liquid form. So this is the general characteristic of physical state of saturated and unsaturated fatty acid. The lipid, next we will take the example. For example, butter contain nearly 70% saturated and 30% fatty acids. So in the butter we will saw the more proportion of saturated fatty acid. On the other hand, sunflower oil contains 75% unsaturated fatty acid, and in oil there are lot of more proportion of unsaturated fatty acid. So saturated fatty acid have completely bounded hydrogen atom, but unsaturated fatty acid have not completely bounded but have the double bond in the place of hydrogen atom, as we saw in the previous diagram. So next we will talk about the uses of lipid. Lipid are used to form membranes, as we talked earlier. The lipids and proteins are the building blocks of our body. So we see that all the living organisms are made up of cell, and all cell are made up of membranes, and in membrane fluid mosaic model tell us the lipid bilayer is present and in which protein molecule are embedded. So we saw that lipid is a part of membrane. The sheath surrounding neuron is a unit of nervous system, and we saw that there is a myelin sheath around the neuron. It has also a critical function. And certain hormones is a messenger molecule, and lipids are also the constituent of hormone. Lipids are extremely useful energy sources. Lipid contain a lot of proportion of energy. Lipid are 1 gram of lipid contain 9 kilocalories of energy. When we talk about the carbohydrate, it contain 4 kilocalorie, but in lipid it contain more than double energy, 9 kilocalorie energy, because it has the more proportion of CH bond in them. So on next we will talk about the some sources of lipids. Important sources of lipids are include milk, butter, cheese, egg, mutton, fish, mustard seed like mustard oil, coconut and dry fruit. We contain the oil, or from milk we contain butter. So these are the saturated and unsaturated sources of lipids. And when we talk about this box, saturated fatty acids can increase a person cholesterol level. When the cholesterol level is increased in our body, an increased cholesterol level may eventually result in clogging of arteries. It will narrowing the bore of arteries where the blood is flowing. When the artery become narrow, the pressure on the heart will increase, so result in clogging of arteries and ultimately heart diseases. So in that, when the heart have to work more to pump the blood through a narrow artery, so this will become the reason of heart diseases. So now student, these are your short questions. The answer of that you have to find your that topic from book. What are lipids? Write down its types, write down the uses of lipid, differentiate between saturated and unsaturated fatty acid, write down the sources of lipids, what are the health risks if we take the saturated fatty acid in our diet, how much calories of energy are present in 1 gram of lipid. These are 6 short questions, and these questions have also come in the form of a long question. Write a note on lipids. So you have to make headings and write it as